Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and let's talk about the most turbulent week in August thus far. And that is this week. And why do I say the most turbulent? Because we have officially our Jupiter Mars conjunction happening Wednesday. I'm recording this on Monday, August 12th, I believe. Yes, August 12th. Had to double check there. So yes, Jupiter-Mars conjunction is finally profecting. We have been feeling this though for probably well over a week, as it is Mars has been applying Jupiter. And I made a video recently, a couple days ago, on the political implications of this conjunction. So if you're interested in mundane astrology or anything that has to do with world events and how massive transits really do influence the world, go check that video out when this one's over. Now, I'm going to talk really about three things in this video today. And some of them I already talked about in length, probably over the last 3 weeks at least, because a lot of these big transits that are happening this week, I forecasted for the August forecast video. So if you haven't seen my entire August forecast, you can go watch that still. I mean, it's still kind of relevant considering we're not really halfway through August yet, but we talked about the Mercury retrograde. I think I've made a couple of videos strictly on the retrograde because this week, as we get towards the end of the week, Mercury will finally be ingressing back into Leo. So, or regressing into Leo, however you want to play with the words. But it's a big moment for that as well, because this retrograde to me is dominantly a Leo retrograde with just a flavor and a touch of something in our life that's in the Virgo sphere. But what I've been saying for weeks now is that this retrograde really is a Leo retrograde mixed in with some of the symbolism of what Virgo represents. Now, obviously, the house topics, where Virgo lies, where Leo lies, is very important to always keep in mind when we're dealing with any collective transit. How is it affecting you specifically? And that's really what matters when it comes to your own life experience. But no matter where the Virgo Leo story is in your birth chart, usually when we have a retrograde, we're tracking Mercury and that energy, and somehow they do connect to each other. Because we're dealing with one transit that's very, very highlighted in our collective conscious, this means that we're going to have Virgo issues kind of carry back into the Leo issues, if you will. Or some of the things that are really coming to fruition now for you, things that are becoming clear for you. So I've been saying for weeks, without getting too ahead of myself, but the Mercury retrograde story, honestly, is all about finding the right words for self-empowerment. There, I believe, are issues within the Leo part of our lives that we might need to be speaking up on more, and there could be something there that needs our attention intellectually and verbally. So I think that's where the Virgo part of this really kicks in, and we really need to take some of that Virgo energy and carry it into our Leo part of our life. Now, I'm not going to get into collective examples, I don't think, in this video. I kind of want to keep this video just sort of scientifically precise, and try my best to give you just straightforward archetypal significations behind what I think some of this really means, And again, I've talked about this for weeks already, but the last thing I want to discuss is the T-square that will be happening on Sunday. Now, Sunday is interesting because at this point, Mercury is back in Leo. And at this point, we do have Venus going opposite Saturn, right? Which both of those planets will be squaring Jupiter and Mars. More Jupiter than Mars, because Mars will be just moving past Jupiter post the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, perfecting on Wednesday. But the influence of Mars and how Mars is going to have such a perfected conjunction, then the T-square, it's almost like you have to look at this as two parts of the same story. So there's going to be sharp events, sharp revelations, sharp insight, and something that is going to be unique for all of us, obviously, wherever Gemini is in your life. But the T-square is going to bring, I feel like, the moment of enlightenment for all of us in the Virgo part of your life, the Pisces part of your life, and of course, Gemini. There's going to be a moment as we go from Wednesday through Sunday where the Virgo and the Pisces, where Saturn is and where Venus is, they're going to light up. There's going to be tension that kind of builds and manifests, and this may have something to do with the retrograde story for your life. This may all have everything to do. All these transits might all come together in one particular way for you. But T-squares to me are positive when they are conquered. And at some point, we do conquer all challenges in one way or another. And honestly, the ultimate conquering on us is when we croak and die one day, not to get morbid, but everything else in life that we can survive and live through, we are the victors. And that's really how we have to look at any challenge or challenging aspects that occur within astrology. So, and usually when we are self-conscious enough and self-aware and have a spiritual practice, perhaps something that grounds us and helps us through challenging times or challenging moments, which honestly, we have at least one challenging moment a day, okay? Even if it's burning something on the stove, So we get over these things. We can really work through almost anything. And this T-square, all T-squares, in my opinion, usually kind of reveal to us something that is maybe hard to swallow, maybe not, or it could be like you crunching for that test and then finally taking the test and feeling so good when you're done, and then realizing that you did get a great grade on it, So whatever's going to happen specifically with the perfected Jupiter-Mars conjunction Wednesday. But again, I feel a lot of us in Gemini are already starting to see what the Jupiterian and Martian energy is providing you, right? Now, later in the video, I'm going to make an announcement because I really want some of your advice on a new project of mine that I'm not sure if I want to put here on the channel or make it separate. And that is a podcast, guys. So in my life, my Gemini sector, I've actually been getting some good luck in some areas. I've been getting a lot of energy to expand my resources with astrology in other places other than YouTube. And I'm starting to contemplate if having a podcast that talks more about collective events and world events, because it's, that's called mundane astrology, something that I'm extremely passionate about and something that I take a lot of pride in researching, how astrology literally affects the world. And I talk about that. I talk a little bit about mundane astrology here. My last video is a little bit of a taste of that, but I'm making a podcast, or I'm really considering making a podcast that's really focused on that. And my retrograde story, because my Virgo and Leo areas of my life are very, very focused in career. This Mercury retrograde has me in a very contemplative place, a place where I'm a little indecisive. I'm really, reviewing if I want to alter the format here on this channel, because if many of my followers here enjoy this idea, maybe I'll make the podcast very exclusive here, and kind of really trying to change things up a little bit. Of course, I'll be the same old me, and we'll still get, metaphysical and shamanic and talk about all the other beautiful things in astrology. But I really want to take up my collective, mundane astrology skills to another level, because I'm getting a lot of great feedback outside of YouTube on this, and a lot of my forecasting for the election and just a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. The astrology is ripe for all world events. And for the next 5+ years, there are massive shifts and changes happening in the world. And I feel as an astrologer, I know so much that I want to share with all this. So for me, my Mercury retrograde story, my Jupiter-Mars conjunction story in Gemini, with my Gemini moon, as many of you know, I'm a Gemini moon. This is huge for me. I feel like I've been expanding and I've had so much energy. And yes, it's been challenging, and I've been challenged more than I ever have. And for me, that's kind of how it's playing out. So this Mercury retrograde is my critical thinking and my problem solving is very activated. And this T-square that's going to happen at the end of the week, I do feel it's almost like I'm going to finally have, maybe, I'm just assuming that by the end of this week, I think I'll have all my answers to these questions that I still have, right? And then I'll have the rest of the retrograde cycle throughout August while it's transiting in Leo, where I have a stellium and it's my 10th house of career. I feel like I'm going to be in a much better place to be analyzing and really doing the work to finish off my retrograde cycle. So as you can see, my story for retrograde and even the T-square, where it's going to be a moment of like, I don't even know if it's going to be tension or not for me. It's just going to be like, I'm going to come to terms probably with the truth of my situation. What should I do with the podcast idea? What should I do with other things going on in my astrological career? And I have a feeling I'm going to have all those problems solved, and it's going to be like an enlightenment moment, right? Like I went through all of this contemplating this week and all of this questioning, and all it needed was to get to the T-square where I kind of have some kind of aha moment, right? And I could already intuitively feel into these things. Well, I am intuitive, obviously, but it's already like, it's just playing out. I feel like I'm just on the sidelines watching this part of my life unfold, and every day like a new insight or a new little challenge or doubt pops up, right? And this is what retrogrades do to us. They keep us kind of staying still, and ideas come and problems arise, and you need to fix the problem, and things break and you need to fix that. And this can happen in so many different shapes and sizes. So the Jupiter-Mars conjunction, guys, in Gemini, we're really, again, all of us are so different, but on the collective, we're seeing a lot of foreign culture things, foreign things manifest, uprise, protest, escalations of war. We're talking about the escalation, the expansion of problems and issues. We're talking about Mars, the god of war, violence, vulgarity, and the election cycles we're seeing. Rhetoric and the ad campaigning one against the other, the lies, the misinformation spreading like wildfire. We may actually see something wild happen in the political sphere this week. As I'm recording this, I actually did predict that Trump and Elon would be doing something with Twitter, because this Jupiter-Mars conjunction is falling directly on Twitter, in Twitter's birth chart, the original birth chart for Twitter, the company. Their Mars is in Gemini at 16 degrees. And this conjunction is happening exactly 16 degrees Gemini. Jupiter-Mars will be at 16 degrees Gemini when it profects. So all those weeks ago, I was telling a lot of people I know and a lot of colleagues and a lot of clients, hey, just watch. There's going to be something with Elon. There's going to be something with Twitter, and probably something with Trump, And lo and behold, tonight, August 12th, they're having an exclusive interview on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So that's how literal astrology can manifest, right? But in that case, Jupiter, again, we're dealing with this expansion of information in Gemini. We're dealing with Mars, very controversial and vulgar social media platform where there's just nothing but like hate speech and just wild stuff being said on there. And we have two very polarizing people that are a part of this moment. And I believe Elon and Trump obviously have very heavy Gemini placements. So it all makes sense. And then if we want to, I don't want to go into too much political stuff, but I mean, Jupiter represents the expansion of ideas, of philosophies, of belief systems, and also like Ukraine. I mentioned something recently to somebody today, how Ukraine's forces are moving into Russia, right? We're talking about war, Mars. We're talking about Jupiter, foreign lands, and Ukrainian troops have never breached over into Russian soil. Now they're fighting on Russian soil. And this literally is happening just a couple of days before this massive conjunction, okay? Jupiter also signifies foreign lands. I think I might have said that before. So a group of soldiers going into a foreign land, even though they're right next to each other, Ukraine and Russia, it's still going into a foreign place, going into a foreign land. This is so spot on for Jupiter. But in all of our lives, guys, some of us, I mean, I spoke to a client recently and they've been working on a product launch for their company. You know, he works for a watch company. And he was telling me that he's been working really, really hard on this new ad campaign for this watch company. And his Gemini is in the 10th house of career. And he said, and I asked him, hey, is there anything going on in your career that is something big might happen for you this week? And then he told me about this launch, and he said he had to put a lot of effort and his ideas into it. And that if this really goes well, if this launch goes really well, he's going to have potentially a lot of new opportunity and promotion, this, that, and the other thing. And I told him, hey, this is your moment, man. You know, this is, Jupiter's a good luck planet. And when you're doing good things and you have good karma and you are really doing the work, and that area of your life is becoming more and more positive, right? Or even if things aren't going that well there, you can use Jupiter as a planet of hope and faith, right? Because Jupiter does signify hope, faith, and trust. So we have to look at all the multidimensional meanings of planets and what they're doing in your sector, you know, whatever Gemini is in your birth chart, for example. And like I say in a lot of my classes, you can use astrological magic to meditate and visualize things that you would like to manifest, or feelings you would like to have, or new, you know, maybe your mind is a little off and you want to be a little more, you want better thoughts to arise. You can use planets like Jupiter to help you, and Mars is the effort, the action, and the passion and assertiveness that can help us get to where we want to go. So like I told this client, hey, you know, like just keep your hope and trust and faith that this is going to be awesome for you, you know? And by doing that, and I even told him, hey, this might sound crazy, but speak to Jupiter and Mars. Try to just say, hey, listen, Jupiter, Mars, I know you're, you know, in my house of career right now, and I'm really doing well and working hard on this thing. Just, you know, I'm going to hope and have trust that this is going to bring me maybe more success. And I said, if you speak that out into existence and really try to believe it, things will most likely work in your favor, because astrology is too embedded into all of reality to not. Okay. And if it doesn't happen right away, you have to understand transits are like seeding points too. So we can really just seed something in the ground and then something will manifest down the line. You know, we can't really worry so much about time always when it comes to manifesting or things turning out in our favor. But astrology will always show us something very, very real the moment these massive conjunctions occur, right? So even like that client, I said, you're probably going to have something occur Wednesday, and it will have something to do with this launch. Maybe it's going to be challenging. Maybe it'll be another brilliant addition to the launch, but just acknowledge that and trust whatever is going to unfold, and really believe that it's going to be a success, you know, which is a super important house of career perspective to keep in mind. You always want to feel more optimistic that something will work if you've been working hard on something, you know, versus having that fear and that negativity weigh you down. So yeah, guys, is there anything else I want to say? I touched on the Mercury retrograde, which I think is really about speaking up. You know, it's about having the ideas and really being confident to put those ideas into action if you're working through ideas. Like for me, I know I'm still mulling through this podcast idea, how I want to approach it. I mean, I'm pretty confident I want to do it. It's just, do I make it a part of this YouTube channel, or do I make another YouTube channel, or do I make it exclusive on Patreon? You know, I would love more people to be on Patreon, so we can, obviously the more support I get on Patreon with like monthly subscriptions and having more content to offer there would obviously help me in my efforts to continue making free content like full time, obviously. And, you know, any contribution monthly for a subscription is, you know, any content creator's dream, really, to be able to sustain themselves and their work strictly from their audience's support. So I'm thinking about definitely doing some exclusive things there with this podcast. But for the Mercury retrograde, you know, it's like, it's all mental for me. It's like thinking and trying to come up with the best plan of action. But all of you guys are different. You know, this is all falling in my house of career. So it's so fitting this is all happening for me. But when it comes to whatever part of your life, I still feel this is a moment for having the right words and the right thoughts to conquer a problem that's arising, where you need the confidence to resolve the issue, resolve the complication, because the Virgo part of your life wants to, the Virgo energy is going to carry in to the Leo energy, right? And the Leo is all about, obviously, leadership, confidence, trying to find the passion in something again. And this is all going to start with the intellect and then really trying a way to communicate whatever it is that's going on for you, So that being said, I think I spoke enough about this week. Yeah, but this is challenging though. This energy isn't easy. It's still very stressful, and we don't really know what's going to manifest with the Jupiter-Mars conjunction. For some of us, we could get blindsided with some Martian, jabs to the gut, but we just have to see how it plays out. And, your karma has a lot to do with it. It's just the truth. What kind of karma has been accumulating in that part of your life. And all of us have karma in all of the areas of our birth chart. There is always something. There are shadows everywhere. And sometimes the retrogrades really touch on the shadows alone. But again, we could really work through anything. And acceptance is the biggest part of life, generally speaking. So if you are going through something rougher, really rougher, then learning a practice to accept, and yes, until your last breath, always try to find the next step you need to take in order to sustain life, happiness, joy, whatever the case may be. And sometimes we just need to rely on Jupiter and surrender to some divine force, whatever you believe in. And even if you don't believe in anything, maybe just asking Jupiter to help you believe in something and to really help you, just realize that this life is not the only life we live. And when times get tough, we do need to expand our mind beyond the physical and have faith. I'm a person, spiritually speaking, that really is a direct experience spiritual practitioner. I want to directly experience the divine, which is why I practice astrology, which is why I meditate, obviously. Because to me, the deepest parts of meditation is getting to the closest aspects of what God could be, the ground of being. But there's still times where it's difficult to feel the presence of something beyond ourselves. And that's where faith comes in, right? And if you're struggling, you need to have that. Even if you don't believe it, you just have to force those words out, right? Force a prayer out of you. And then take a nap. That probably will help too. So anyway, guys, and part of that announcement part, with the title of the video is really just about the podcast, this idea. I have a name for the podcast I might use if I do this collective mundane astrology format, which would just be the World Astrology Podcast, a very simple, to the point podcast involving world events, collective events, and how astrology constantly is intertwined with the collective, right? And there is a part of me that may not go that route and just sort of make another podcast just involving astrology of, just a basic astrology kind of podcast. But because other avenues in my life that I'm expressing my astrology work, I'm seeing a lot of great feedback with my discussing politics, geopolitics, things going on in the world, and even stuff that's not politics. But for me, mundane astrology is what really won me over to truly believe in astrology. Like, I always believed in astrology. Then I started practicing it and learning a lot about how it helps people and the archetypes and the psychology that astrology really kind of reveals to us. But then within years of doing that and then realizing how connected it is with global events, that blew my mind. And then that's when I really decided to do this for a living. So for me, I always track what's going on in the world, always have. And that's why I want to pursue most likely that avenue for a podcast. And it does win a lot of people over, who are skeptics. So that's why I'm highly considering doing this, guys. So let me know, would this be something you would want here on the channel? Or do you think I should make another channel for this? Or what? I want a lot of you to give me some feedback on that. All right, my friends. Well, that's all I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe as always. And I will see you very soon.